A student of Delhi University's Lady Shriram College, Pratishtha Deveshwar is going to Oxford. Now, this should not be news, but she's the first wheelchair user from India to study at the United Kingdom's prestigious university. She's leaving in September, and just before she sets sail, Pratishtha is here to talk about her challenges, hopes, and aspirations. So, hello Pratishtha, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining
Thank,
us today.
Hi, it's my absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
So, first of all, congratulations for getting into Oxford University.
Thank you so much.
So, if I'm right, you are the first ever wheelchair user from India to do so, right?
Yes, I am.
So, when did you get to know about this, and what was your first reaction after you got the acceptance letter?
I got my acceptance letter in March, and I remember I was expecting it that the result will come around March, and I was. I had just finished my workout and I was all full of sweat and everything when I just opened my phone and I had the letter in my hand on my Gmail app, and the first thing I did was let out a huge scream, and I just started crying instantly because it was like a huge long process of applying, and also a lot of uncertainty. I was second guessing myself all the time, hoga nahi hoga. I was more than sure that I won't get in because this course is extremely competitive and the acceptance rate is obviously very low. So when I got in, I could not believe. I just read congratulations, and after that, I didn't even read the whole thing. I was like, okay, ye ho gaya. And then I called my mom, her phone was busy. I called my dad, his phone was busy. And then after a couple of minutes, they called back, and I couldn't even speak. I remember my parents know that I was just shouting. I couldn't even speak. They were like, "Hua kya? Tell us what do you want to say?" And then I calmed myself down. Then I told them that I have been accepted and I'm going to Oxford. And they were obviously very happy. The first thing my dad said to me was, think about your grandparents and thank them today, because a lot of it is because of, the blessings of our elders, and also, of
Yeah.
course, hard work. So yeah, it was quite a day. I didn't celebrate at that time because I was away from my family. But when I came back, we had all the cake cutting and everything. Yeah.
So, you have chosen public policy.
Yes.
So, is there a specific reason behind choosing that?
Yeah, I was always interested in political science since childhood, but after I met with an accident, I realized that one thing that discriminates against people with disabilities and that really puts certain sections of the society in a marginalized condition is that policies are non-inclusive. They are discriminatory because every time I had to, perhaps there were times I couldn't step out of my house. There were various restaurants that were not accessible. I couldn't go out. I couldn't even attend school like a regular student. And all of this is because of lack of policy implementation, policy formulation, and that this section, huge section of people with disabilities, that this section has some needs that need to be taken care of by the government and the society, and they are overlooked. And that is how my interest developed in this at a very young age. Right after my accident, I started searching about why are these policies discriminatory and how that can be rectified, what all policies in the world are available that make lives of people with disabilities better. And I realized that India was far behind other countries in terms of accessibility, and in terms of just inclusive nature of its laws and policies.
Mm.
That is how it started, and then I that is why I decided to also pursue political science in my undergraduation, because it
Okay.
had components of public policy in the subject. And after that, of course, because I want to come back and get into policy implementation in the government, that is why I chose public policy.
Like you said, the accessibility is less, and we do not have like proper policies for disabled people or differently abled people. So you are originally from Hoshiarpur, and then you traveled to Delhi to study for your undergrads. So
Yeah.
what did your family say? What did your friends say? Weren't they worried that you will have like a tough time, or you will find it difficult to adjust in a new city?
Oh, I tell you, it was not even imaginable for us to think कि मतलब इसको हम लोग भेज सकते हैं बाहर, we can send her to study
Hmm.
all by herself independently, because for 5 years after my accident I stayed in my house. I couldn't even step out at all, because coming from a small city, it was completely inaccessible. It still is right now. Also, I'm in Hoshiarpur, and there's not even a single place I can go out and just chill also.
Hmm.
That is why when I decided that I want to be completely independent and live in a place that is more disabled friendly, or accessible for me. The first, I had a lot of barriers to overcome. The first barrier was myself. I was deeply scared myself also. How will I be able to do this? Because there was this comfort at home, everybody's taking care of me, but I didn't want that. I wanted to be independent like everybody else. And so I explained it to myself that I have spoken about this a lot of times, that I have a journal in which I have written about all my abilities, so that I don't focus on my disability, but my focus is supposed to be on my abilities. And that really gave me the confidence that okay, these are the things that I can do, and based on these things I will be able to live a successful life, away from home as well. Next was to explain my parents, explain to them, because they obviously they love me so much, and they don't want to put me in a position where my health is compromised or my safety is compromised. So but
Yeah.
I took my time to they also took their own sweet time to kind of acknowledge the fact and understand that it is really possible for me to live alone, although the challenges and risks are there. But
Hmm.
they were quite supportive of it. But then the challenge comes, I think, mostly from the society, because when my parents broke this news to people, everybody said no, your daughter is a girl with a disability, you should not send her outside alone, you're doing a blunder. A lot of things were said to them to stop them from sending me to live alone. But thankfully they didn't listen to them, and I was sent to New Delhi about 3 years back in 2017 to pursue my undergraduation from Lady Shri Ram College for Women, Delhi University. And uh, and there have been a lot of challenges there as well. It was, in my head I had imagined that shifting from a small town to a big
Hmm.
city like the capital of India will be a huge, difference in terms of accessibility, although there was difference. But I cannot say that Delhi is also completely accessible or there were no challenges. There were several challenges involved, which I can maybe talk about later. But
Hmm.
the whole thing has been like a roller coaster ride.
So coming back to your challenges, the challenges that you faced in Delhi, you were going to talk about that. So I specifically want to know that, like you said, like society is the main challenge, like people understanding that differently able people can do everything that regular people do. That is the main challenge. So what was the a bad comment or something that you didn't like, something that you faced but you didn't like from someone in Delhi? And also, you can talk about someone who has been your supporter throughout.
Yeah. So there are, it's every time I go out, it is, I get a lot of comments on an everyday basis. There is not a single time when I go out of my house and people are not staring at me. And people don't stare in a good way. People stare with sympathy that, oh, oh,
Mm.
poor thing, that, this girl is on a wheelchair. And that is something that was very troublesome and disturbing for me initially. I didn't like it at all, because it is, an invasion of your privacy also,
Mm.
that somebody is continuously staring at you, and that too with mercy in their eyes. Because in my head I was living my normal life, but for people it was something, I don't know, extraordinary, something that they were not used to seeing every day. So yeah, so there was this lady once who saw me. I was at the metro. I was in the metro, all dressed up, going for a friend's party, and there was this lady who came up to me and she said, "You're you're wearing a very pretty dress. And I was like, thank you. But she said that, just because you're sitting on a wheelchair, this dress is not looking great on you. No matter how much makeup you put, no matter how pretty dresses you wear, you're not going to look good because you're sitting on a wheelchair. And that is what I was talking about, that the media portrayal of people with disabilities is such that they are objectified as symbols of mercy, of nothingness, of dull and boring life, people who cannot be happy. And that is the kind of this is the kind of stereotype that people in the society live with and look at people with disabilities with. And that is what I have been facing in all these 9 years, that people don't really know that my life is just as normal and usual as anybody else's. So there's this idea, not only as a person with a disability, but also as a woman, that there's this idea of perfection that is often thrown at us, that you are supposed to have a perfect body. But when you are a person with a disability, especially for me, I have a lot of scars, and initially people used to point at them and obviously make fun of them, even in my childhood. But slowly I learned how to own them and wear them as badges of honor, because I have sustained through a lot of things. And there's nothing that I am embarrassed about. This is my life, and I have no problem in sharing what my experiences have been throughout these years. And people need to realize that the only thing that you have to see in a person with a disability is the first word, person. What only matters is that you see everybody for who they are, accept and embrace everybody for who they are. And there have been a lot of people who have done that as well with me. There have been bad comments, people who are rude and not nice, but there have been amazing people also. Every time I go out with my friends or even alone, there have been people who come out of their way to support you, to help you. If my once I remember my wheelchair got stuck very badly in a pothole on the road, and I was alone at that time, and there was nobody to help me. But there were very nice 3 people who were just in their cars. They were going somewhere, they stopped the car, they came back especially to help me. And they helped me with it, and it didn't feel like they were doing it out of sympathy. They were genuinely being helpful towards another person. And this is, I think, one of those memories that makes me feel that humanity is still alive.
You have become this wonderful, inspiring human being that you are today. So after your accident, you were pretty young when you met with an accident. So after that, how did you motivate yourself to become what you are today? How did you overcome the challenges? Can you talk about your journey?
So I was 13 years old when I met with this accident, and it was a very bad road accident. My whole family was a part of it, but everybody's fine. It was only me who sustained an injury that led to a disability. And at that time, I remember for 3 months I was in the ICU, and after that also when I was brought back home, for 2 to 3 years I was told that you cannot even sit for more than 2 hours. And just to be so young and to be told that one, you will not be able to walk again in your entire life, and secondly, you cannot even forget walking, you cannot even sit for more than this amount of time. And that really, obviously, that broke me at that point. And at that point I felt like all my dreams were shattering. And I was a very ambitious kid since always. I've always been a topper. I loved studying, and I always wanted to make my parents proud and do great things in life. But at that point I thought ki ab main kuch nahi kar paungi. And now all the dreams that I had for myself are all gone. But then after a couple of those years, those initial years when I felt this way, after that I just, after a point I stopped feeling that there will be a miracle and then everything will be all right suddenly. Because I was all this while I was waiting that someday perhaps a miracle will happen, I will be able to walk and things will be fine. And until then I cannot dream, everything's over. But then slowly, I think I came to terms with the fact that even if I cannot walk, I can still dream to fly, and I will have to be accepting of what has happened, and I cannot keep waiting for for God to bestow some miracle upon me, because that might not happen. Normalcy, to bring about normalcy, I cannot wait for 5 years, 6 years, 10 years. I'll have to do it now and by myself. And that is when I decided that even if I cannot sit for more than 2 hours, it's okay. I'll just lay down on my bed and I'll read. I'll study no matter what. I cannot stop my life here. And I started doing that, and it was great, because I again topped in my class 9, class 10, class 11, and that really, I think, instilled more confidence in me that I can still do something, because I can study. And education for me has always been the source for empowerment, and that is something that really kept me going. Reading is something that kept me going even in my worst days. And um, uh, and the and the motivation that we talk about, I think, for me, and I strongly believe this, that motivation that comes from outside, external motivation, is impactful, but it stays only for a short while. The real motivation that really has the power to transform your life, that comes from within. And that motivation came from inside me, that I have to make something of my life. Even if this has happened, I cannot walk, that's okay. I need to do something to make my parents proud. And I still have this, written outside my cupboard. I have written there, adversity is opportunity in disguise. And I strongly believed it. And that is why I am I'm a fan of writing, because I certainly feel that, what you can write, you can really make that happen. And it's a constant reminder for you to keep working towards that. And that is what just kept me going, that I need to prove to myself and to everybody else that a disability still has ability in it. And it is not something that can stop me from achieving my goals and my dreams. And although I was ambitious, but I had never thought that I would get to where I am today. I think God has been kind, my well-wishers have been very supportive, and of course, I have also worked hard towards this. But I definitely believe that when you're grateful for what you have, you always end up having more. So gratitude is something that kept me going all these years.
Now you are a motivational speaker and also an advocate of accessibility rights. So, and also you're going to Oxford to study public policy to make an impact back here. So how do you aim to change the stigma around disability that has been there like since ages, and it's still prevalent in the 21st century society?
So I have always wanted to change it, because I was me and a lot of other people with disabilities that I know, and I know thousands of them. We always feel quite uncomfortable with the fact that our lives are being portrayed in the media and in the society in a very wrong way. And it is important. I think the onus of changing this perception and stereotypes firstly lies on people with disabilities. It is important that I go out and share my story, and that is why I started public speaking. Giving motivational speeches are not really motivational speeches intended by me. They are basically a way of sharing my story. And I share my story because I want people to shatter or dismantle all those myths and stereotypes that there are around lives of people with disabilities. And I ensure that I don't only share my story, but also stories of various other people with disabilities. And that is important. There have to be platforms where people from all marginalized sections can come forward and talk about their lives, because the lives of people with disabilities are completely unseen and unheard. Nobody in the society, there are so many friends that I have who do not know even a single person with a disability except me. They don't I think also that people, so one is that the onus lies on people with disabilities to share their story. Secondly, I think the society should also make some conscious effort towards learning about the lives of people with disabilities. You know, every day there are so
Definitely.
many articles that are written about people with disabilities, but generally people just scroll past them. You would not
Mm.
make the effort to click on it and read it because you perhaps are not interested in understanding their lives, or you don't you people just feel that this is something that will never bother us. It's That's not happening to us, and we're not living with this, so why bother reading about it? But I certainly believe that these I was not disabled since birth. This is something that
Correct.
can happen to anyone and at any
Mm.
point. And accessibility needs are something that all of us would have once we grow old.
Mm.
And that is why everybody in the society should take personal interest in understanding and learning, educating themselves about lives of people with disabilities, so that those myths and stereotypes are shattered. And on the third level, of course, there's a lot that has to be done by the government. There is a whole Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act with really, really good provisions and rights for people with disabilities. But the problem is, again, implementation. They
Mm.
are not being implemented, and people do not even know about their rights. For the longest time, I didn't know what all rights I had, until the point where I started my advocacy and, attended seminars and everything. So the government needs to, uh, make this information reach a wider audience so that people can benefit from these rights, and also for the society to not only for people with disabilities. I definitely believe that even the motto for the sustainable development goals is leave no one behind. And it is
Mm.
important that in our policies, in our approach towards everyday life, it is extremely crucial that we think about everybody, we think in an inclusive manner, so that nobody is left behind.
We have talked about your challenges, we've talked about your journey. So now, finally, I would like to know, what are your hopes and dreams? Like, you're going to study in Oxford, then what next after that?
Uh, well, I call myself God's child because I never planned my life. My accident was something that was unplanned, that I had never thought would happen. Shifting to Delhi and Lady Shri Ram College was something that happened last minute. I was not planning for it. I applied on the very last day and I got in. That was something that came to me
Mm.
through various sources, and that is how it happened. And
Mm.
thirdly, even Oxford was not planned. I was planning on doing something else, but the last minute I decided to just apply and it happened. So even after this, I am sure that God has something in store for me. But that is something definite. Of course, at this point, I don't know what exactly I'll be doing, but as a larger goal, I definitely know that I want to come back to India and join the government and work
Okay.
for people with disabilities specifically, and also at large for people who belong to minority communities, people who are marginalized, and people whose voices do not reach the society, people whose concerns are not reflected in our policies, so that my understanding of public policy that I get from Oxford, I want to come back and use it for those people who really do not have those policies that look after them.
That is great. It was indeed an inspirational conversation that we had today with you, Pratishta. Thank you so much, and all the best for Oxford and then for everything else that you want to do in life.
Thank you so much, Shisha. It was an absolute honor to speak to you and share my story with you. I have shared my story a lot of times, but the questions that you asked were really, really something that made me introspect also at various levels, and it was an absolutely fun chat. Thank you.
Yeah, it was my honor to, Pratishtha. Thank you so much for your time.